Okay. So you're taking advantage of that, all the space, or? Oh, you meant that one. Oh, gotcha.
I mean, that's more. It's too big of a hurdle. Does he have to put the...
I'd like to call to order the Township of North Huntington Board of Commissioners work session meeting for Thursday, April 10th at 7 p.m. Roll call, Manager Falk.
Commissioner Hempel.
Here.
Commissioner Hagus.
Here.
Commissioner Gray.
Here.
Commissioner Zona.
Here.
Commissioner Bevan.
Here.
Commissioner Goss.
Here.
President Atwood.
Here. Ask if you're able to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. As if any citizen would like to offer any input, I ask you to sign the book at the podium. There was no executive session that occurred between the last meeting and tonight. Right, our first resident is Nicholas Carosa. Ask you to come and state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Nicholas Carosa. I live in North Huntington. So, Mr. Gray was given a packet of information. For those at home watching, we now have a page and a forum, Norwin Accountability Now. If you go to the page, click the link at the top, you'll be able to see everything I'll be discussing because we know they're not going to give me the time to do it. So let's start off with executive sessions. The executive session held by Chief Rizzo, badge number 18, after Ward 7 Vice President Commissioner Eric Gass called an investigation into the alleged brandishing of a firearm, was deemed by Office of an Open Record to be a violation of the Sunshine Act. You guys weren't allowed to do that. They also decided, Harry, that you have to give me the incident report on his hit and run. I would also like the community to really sit there and ask yourselves, if you are a commissioner within a township and you hit into one of your constituents' things, I don't have the incident report because they want to hide it, what causes you to run? What kind of an elected official causes damage to a constituent's property and run? I mean, I'll ask, were you under the influence, Mr. Atwood, when you damaged the constituent's property? Okay, so let's get into, since that executive session was illegal, that means everything discussed there is open to be talked about. So I'm just going to get into my questions. So we're going to have a little mini deposition because that's what you guys are all going to find yourselves in with me. So we'll start with Mr. Gray, right? Let's go to questions for Mr. Gray. Oh, there's a lot on here. I'm going to have to speed talk if I can't get to it. All right. Here we go. Bear with me. Technical difficulties. You guys make it so hard. I wish you'd just let me talk. Uh-oh. Here we are. Let's start with Gass, actually. Mr. Gass, is it true that you informed the constituent that after you called for an investigation, Chief Rizzo contacted you by phone and used profanities in protest of your actions? Further, is it true that Chief Rizzo's wife also participated in the conversation, directing profanities towards you? Is it true that during this same time, Harry Falk informed you that the commissioners would be permitted to view the body cam footage during an executive session that you shouldn't have had, that was called by Chief Rizzo? Upon arriving at the meeting, did Harry Falk subsequently tell you that he had misspoken and that the commissioners would not, in fact, be allowed to view the body cam footage? Is it true that Ron Zona Hi, Ron. Is it true that Ron Zona expressed strong opposition to the commissioners being shown body cam footage? And if so, did he do this vehemently? Mr. Gray. Mr. Gray, is it true that you called a meeting with the constituent who submitted the appeal to the Office of Open Records? Mr. Gray, during the illegal executive session, did you ask why you were not permitted to view body cam footage? And was your inquiry met with strong opposition from Ron Zona without clear response? Commissioner Gray, do you believe that certain members of the board are intimidated by Ron Zona, and that is the reason why they follow his direction without question? Is it true, Commissioner Gass, that you have made statements suggesting that Chelsea Dice speaks in legal terms that confuse the members of the board who lack legal expertise, and that this results in them simply deferring to Ron Zona's wishes? Ms. Dice, is it true that your father was the lawyer for Penn Hills when the school district went belly up, and that Steven Zappala had a 3-year investigation to indict you, your law firm, but, you know, he forgot to find anything criminal? Imagine that. Steve Zappala missed it. I'm tired of you guys. I'm tired of the way you've treated me. I'm tired of the way you treat my community. You should all be ashamed of yourselves. You run a forum to teach young people how to participate in politics. Shame on you. You're ex-law enforcement. You took an oath to the Constitution as an officer and then one as a commissioner. Shame on you. You don't do anything. I don't even know what to say about you.
Sir, you're here to address the board,
I can
not
address
the individuals.
Do you want to infringe on my keep racking them up? I'm telling you guys, I'm going to bankrupt this entire
Sir, you are
township.
out of order right now.
Sell your houses,
Your
move
conduct
your businesses.
is disorderly.
Sell your houses, move your Am I out of time?
You are being disorderly.
I'm glad you choose to do this on camera, Jason.
It's fine.
You're making horrible decisions.
If you cannot calm down, you will be asked to leave.
Chelsea, you should advise your client he's violating my constitutional rights. It's what you're being paid to do. No? So none of you know what to do. We got you guys managing a $17 million budget. This guy lives in McKeesport, managing all our money and our funds. What? Oh, I'm out of time.
Time is up.
Okay.
Our next resident is Tricia Henning. I ask you come and state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Tricia Henning. I'm actually an attorney for the property owner that's adjacent to the Lincoln Corner Plaza 2 property you have later on in the agenda. If you're fine with that, I'm willing to wait until we get to that point on the agenda. I just wanted you to know that I was here to speak.
Yeah, so we're going to reserve this time for citizens' input, and whenever we address that in the meeting, we'll be able to ask you to come back up if
Thank
needed.
you.
Thank you. Next resident is Barbara Commodore. Let's you come and state your name and address for the record, please.
Barbara Commander, do you need the actual address? 11110 Bluebird Drive, North Huntington, PA.
Go ahead.
I've never done this before. I want to bring up a concern that I have for the township, not just for my sake and my property, on an incident that happened at my house last Thursday at 4 a.m. It is for all the residents. I want the township to consider changing the ordinance when it comes to people's property and their trees. I have a situation in our house where I have a neighbor that lives behind me at 11111 Wren Drive. The township knows of this present. She does not maintain her property. There are massive trees that are dead, dying, split, termite-ridden, and one has fallen and has caused a quote of $16,000 for just the corner of my property. That does not include my neighboring person to my right that has taken out their shed and other items. We have proof that this tree, the roots, there are none, it's decayed, and the other ones are in the same situation. Having an active nature storm, whatever, is one thing, I can deal with it, but when you have a neighbor that is totally negligent for years upon years, even with their address across the street, which is apparently her late parents' house, she's had trees fallen on Wren, which has fallen right in front of my husband and myself and my dog, and almost landed on us. And her attitude is, that's what insurance is for. I now find out she only wants to use her insurance to clean up the tree, which this tree trunk is probably 6 to 7 feet in diameter and probably about 3 stories tall. It is the tallest tree, and the other 4 trees that are there are just under what they are. So I'd like to find out if the township can somehow down the road look into changing this where there's a limit of trees, because to the house to her, next to her, there's a 3-month-old, and the house to the left has 2 toddlers, 2 dogs, and parents. And with the other trees that she got going on, one is now leaning and rotating this way in the corner of my property, heading toward this neighbor, and the 2 other trees are going that way, and there's a dead tree that is going towards her porch and the neighbor with the little 3-month-old. So I don't know what the procedure is for this, but I feel it's time that whether it's just my house or anybody in this township, that this needs to be addressed, especially when you have evidence of a neighbor who does not maintain their property. You know, if a tornado comes through, one thing, but I don't know how you guys handle a situation like that. I have presented it to Josh multiple times. It's been referred to other people. We went down to speak with the neighbor yesterday to say, hey, what are you doing? I need to have permission to have a tree company come on the property, just to let you know. She in turn called the police and said that we were threatening her. All we wanted to say is, what are you doing? It's now been almost a week. And this is where we're at right now. So I don't know who all knows who that address is, but what can the township do to look into changing the ordinance? Because there's a lot of trees, even going up Mockingbird, trees on the property there they're gonna land on. I mean, I just found out from my insurance company, they will not cover the $16,000 for the replacement. I only get cleanup. So now I'm looking at a situation on the other side that I'm gonna have to pay out of pocket or do the manual work to do it on a 7-foot trunk. So I don't know if you guys can answer that or if it's how you guys do it.
All right.
Is that
Anything
it?
else tonight? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Our next resident is Lori Kukic. As you come and state your name and address for the record, please.
I'm going to refrain until next Wednesday when more of the individuals I'd like to address are present.
Oh, thank you. Our next resident is, looks like Missy Funyak. As you come and state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Missy Funyak. I live at 260 Charles Drive. Up here recently with the soccer thing, but back again because I found out someone wants to put a kennel in my neighborhood. It is a horrible idea. We have a residential neighborhood. I live closer to the end where this kennel was proposed. There are major concerns of safety and noise. I know there's going to be problems with noise. We have a ton of dogs in our neighborhood, lots of kids. It's going to be nonstop, you know, and the traffic coming in there, it's not the neighborhood for a business of that type. Another area, you know, put them away for something else, but not in our neighborhood. So, just want to say my piece. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next resident is, looks like Scott Gray. Come and state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, I'm Scott Gray, 321 Carpenter Lane. I'd like to talk about the MOU between North Huntington and the union on behalf of Friends of Norman Trails. I've been a resident in North Huntington since 1994. I'm an avid mountain biker since 1989. I started learning about trail maintenance and design back in the 90s with Trail Pittsburgh. Back then it was called Pittsburgh Trail Advocacy Group. I've attended several of the international mountain biking training courses that are put on by their trail crew several times, as well as helping with and attending the steward training seminars with Trail Pittsburgh. I've led dozens of work days with up to 50 volunteers working on trails in the state of Pennsylvania, from the city of Pittsburgh, Allegheny County, the state parks, and national forests. So Friends of Norman Trails is looking to comment on the MOU between the township and the union. And we understand that that is exactly what that is. It's not with us, but it does impact us and our volunteer work. We're trying to get this approval so that we can get some, continue to resume our work on trails, especially at Braddock Trails Park that we've started in the last year. We've had other groups reaching out to us that are individuals and groups that want to pitch in to help, and we're at a standstill. The community's been very positive, and we're anxious to get back to work and try to get this worked out so that we can get things more formalized. There's a couple things in that agreement that we would like to see adjusted, and one is that we would like to develop new trails as well as maintain the existing ones in the community. And based on that, the recreation plan from 2017 and the comprehensive plan in 2023, this is what people want. This is not just a few of us, but that is a large majority of the township. Design of trail systems is very important. Many of the trails in our existing parks are built very unsustainable. They need to be retired or replaced or rerouted in some way. For example, there's a trail at Braddock Trails Park that is called the Lookout Trail, and it goes straight up the hill from the bridge to the lookout of the river. This is a fall line trail, and it goes against all good design trail building techniques and design. This is why we put in the switchboard trail. It goes from the same starting point and it goes to the same ending point, and it's much longer. And it zigzags its way across the hill to international mountain biking standards, so that it drains water well and it is more enjoyable to hike and bike. We would like to be a partner and see how that we can improve these trails or get them replaced. The increasing the quality of trails and adding new trails increases citizenship and increases citizen usership and ownership. This creates more of a self-policing situation. We're concerned that the requiring of 1 employee per 10 volunteers is going to mess up our volunteer work. It's going to be a barrier for us. We support the union, and we do not in any way intend to take away any of the union work or any of their jobs. At the same time, this is our community and our parks, and we want to be involved, and other people want to be involved. And there's no way that we can predict how many people are going to show up for a work day. They're volunteers, they come and go as they please, and we're grateful that they do come. We're afraid that our appetite for volunteer work is going to exceed the township's and the management's appetite to pay the union people for that, and that's going to slow us down. Last year, we had 8 work days with many volunteers. We would like to have a procedure for a work day, and we would like to sit down and address that in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next resident is Alan Silverio. As you come and state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Alan from 149 Skellytown Road. I wanted to speak about the speed bumps on McKee Road. I personally drove over them for work a few days ago, and I thought they did like a really good job. The bumps weren't like hard on your car. So like I thought that was a good idea, and like I personally didn't hear about this being put in, but it was a nice surprise. I just wanted to like ask, because it looks like the road's going to be ripped up because of the different utilities replacing their lines over the summer. I just want to learn, like, I don't know if we could do this at like an executive session or the regular meeting, but like just like present something to the public on like how, I don't know, this came about, how the data is going to be analyzed, and like, is this a solution for other neighborhoods? Because we all know probably every ward here has like crazy roads within the neighborhoods where people just speed like crazy. I also, I don't know, I came here today too because of a recent Facebook post on a local township group. Someone stated that they were concerned about speeding within our neighborhood. So I felt like this is a good time to kind of bring all this up. So many commented and listed their own streets. I compiled a list of this from this, as well as I'll add a few that I've just had personal experience that have been like awful with speeders, where I've almost gotten hit or someone, you know, it's really dangerous. So I want to credit Patrick Pollock for the Facebook post. He lives on Richard Road, and he also thinks there should maybe be a stop sign at the intersection of Richard and Hetty Lynn. I've lived there 30 years, so I could definitely tell you from experience, a stop sign would make things so much safer. I bet there has been accidents there. It's just, I don't know. It just looks like there should be a 4-way anyways. So I just want to get to the list, and most of these I believe are township roads. I could give these to you in printout if you want, but like I said, a lot of these were from the Facebook post. Craig Drive, Hetty Lynn, Diane Merrill, Hetty Lynn, Richard Drive, Daly Drive, Easy Street, High Ridge Drive, McCanning, Glendale, Old Trail Road, Locust Drive, Forest Drive, Ormsby, Niagara, St. Clair, Farview, Ivanhoe, Lancelot, Crestwood, Laurel, Crothers Lane, Brokers Lane, Dortmore Drive, Delaware Avenue, especially in Lincoln Hills, that portion, and Altman Street. Also, like school zone road areas, for example, I'll go view Steersville. Maybe we could look at some of these bumps on like Carpenter Lane, Michael Drive, Ward Drive, or like see what other communities are doing too. Maybe someone's at the forefront and we could kind of copy them. Special note to state roads. Mostly these roads are higher speed roads, so speed bumps might not work or be feasible, but some sort of measures should be like look at. But I know they're managed by the state, but I still think it's important because these are dangerous roads. So I'll start with Skellytown. Where I live, they build up so much speed going down and up the hill. It's like a 35-mile-an-hour road, but like people go like 80 in short distances, like pretty frequently. Maybe a stop, like a speed bump at the top and the bottom, because they like to build up speed. So maybe like something that could be considered. I also want to say Robin Station, Ridge Road, Clay Pike. I almost was hit just like on the side of the road from some crazy idiot trying to turn off of Clay Pike onto Farview. That's a pretty crazy road, especially I would suggest if you stand at the Lutheran church and just observe traffic. It's pretty crazy. And I could tell you because I have a landscape business. I work all over the township. I work on all kinds of roads. So I pay attention a lot because I have a truck and a trailer. So like I got to be pretty careful because it's enclosed and people are obviously terrible drivers around here. And I think a lot of the roads, just the topography and whatnot affect that. And then Brownstown, PA Avenue, Ash Street, and Lombard Street too. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to response to citizens' input. Our first resident was Mr. Carosa. Does any commissioner have anything regarding that? Seeing none. The next resident spoke about the trees. Do we have any commissioner want to speak about that at this point?
I would ask the solicitor to speak to that.
Sure. So, ma'am, I think it was Barbara Commander.
Commander.
With respect to trees that are abutting your property, if they go over your property line, it's considered a trespass. You could go forward and it's a private property dispute, so that 16,000, I think you mentioned 16.5 or something of damage to your property. That's between you and the property owner, the other property owner, that you could actually file suit. If it's below, I think the threshold's 14,000 at the magistrate level. Anything above that, then you have to go to the Court of Common Pleas. At that point, because it's 16.5, I'd recommend arbitration. But the township would rely on, because it's between the two of you, that you would have to pursue that claim against the other property owner. My suggestion is to put it in writing and provide that to the property owner and try to pursue your claims against them, including your deductibles or anything like that, that you have to pay out of pocket because it's considered a trespass.
That's not what I was here for this evening. I was here for this evening because I want the township to change the ordinance when it comes to that.
Right.
I know the issue.
Okay.
I don't think we can do that.
But we're dealing with a severe safety concern here. And I know it's not just in my situation, but it's throughout the township. The township needs to look into changing. If somebody in a residential area, even if it's a commercial, and they have a tree that is over a certain height, that individual or business needs to address it. Because I do have the evidence of the tree being dead and falling. And why should I or anybody else deal with this situation, thus also be dealing with the situation of
So I think at this point, the question revolves around, can we
Can you amend?
pass an ordinance?
So I know that you mentioned passing an ordinance limiting the number of trees. No, we
I'm
cannot.
not saying limiting the number,
I-
I'm talking about the height and safety
Yes.
issue. Because when you have a house, that your house is standing right there.
Ma'am, at this point, we don't have, this is not a back and forth with the board. You had a chance for your citizens' input, and then we're going to respond. This isn't a back and forth time at this point.
So
So-
I just want
Can we, can we go back to the question, what are the limitations of the ordinances can be?
So if you want to create rules and regulations with respect to the height of trees within the municipality, we would have to do that and amend the zoning ordinance to say X, Y, or Z of would only allow 50-foot pine trees, and other trees are rooted differently. We'd have to hire an arborist to probably come in and make a study and to make that determination. But that would go through zoning, and that would be an amendment to the zoning ordinance, should the municipality desire to do that. I don't know if the commissioners want to. This is the first time I'm hearing it, but that's the option.
And
That's all I want. I'm
And-
not worried about my personal situation financially. I just want to address the issue when it comes to a matter that is happening, and I know it's going to happen throughout the township, that other people have already dealt with or will be dealing with in the future, that I think the township needs to look at it to say, as a safety issue for everybody that's in this township. And not just the fact of if it's over the property line, just whack it. Well, I can't
Yeah.
go 3 feet high and cut unless
Okay.
I want to spend that money. Well, now that's Lee's Township. So I just want the.
Does any other
clarification.
commissioner have anything on this topic?
Yeah, I do. Do we have an ordinance right now on height of trees or anything like that? or-
No, we do not.
Okay.
I mean, this has come up in the past with in my time, during my time here, and it would be really cumbersome to try to regulate trees. Once that gets out, people would, be using it to cut down, their neighbor's tree. I mean, we don't have anybody really certified to say, okay, well, that tree's dead, that tree's, diseased. It would be cumbersome to do as an ordinance, I think.
I agree. That would be so cumbersome that we would need an army of tree police to measure all the trees and then enforce it. And I think cumbersome is an understatement.
Yeah,
It would be so expensive.
We get that, we get this a lot,
Yeah,
with the dead
and
trees.
we always have.
Yeah.
And you also have to watch because you have certain areas that are potentially to be timbered, and we have to allow for timbering in all zoning districts. And so you might have a lobbying group come in here and say, well, we don't want you to designate the certain height or size of a tree because we are out there growing trees to timber. And so we might run into something like that. I've never seen specifically in a zoning ordinance, your trees can only be maintained at this height or this width and things like that. Usually, unfortunately, it's just being a property owner and dealing with your neighbors. This is part of being a property owner, and you have to, whether it's a tree falling on your land or something else coming from your neighbor's property, it's between you guys to sort that out.
I think that's something the township needs to reconsider, especially when the houses are.
Does any other commissioner have anything on this topic? Nope. None. Moving on to, next resident spoke about the block rezoning. The commissioners heard the public hearing for that prior to the meeting. Without objection, I think we all can add that to the testimony in our heads. Okay.
And I believe that you're gonna hear this on May 21st. The decision will be made, Missy, for the decision concerning the rezoning. And it was just for rezoning from R1A to C1, not for the kennel. That's separate, but that matter is gonna be addressed at the next planning commission meeting.
All right. Our next resident was Mr. Gray discussing the MOU with the AFSCME for volunteers. Without objection, we could move that to the discussion. And our last resident was Mr. Silverio discussing the speed bumps and the speed on the various roads. Does any commissioner have anything for input on that?
Maybe a solution would be to stop paving roads so they grow potholes on their own and nobody speeds. It just,
You're talking about the safety of our citizens and you want to crack jokes.
So-
My lady's at home with a traumatic
The
brain injury
next-
that happened on one of the roads.
Sir,
Yeah, we-
you are out of order.
Sanction me.
Moving on to, go ahead.
Yeah, Alan, I have to agree. One of the roads that you mentioned is Ormsby. Man, dude, it's a speedway. I'll tell you honest to God, once a day, I literally do, guys. I'll admit to you. I'll tell everybody. I holler at people. I literally scream at them to slow down. It's 25. It's 25, not 55, not 65. I've had people, after I screamed at them, jam on the brakes, throw it in reverse, come up the road backwards, doing 30, and then have the audacity to want to get into an argument with me. I'm like, right? I mean, my God, where's the common sense? And you know, we've had VASCAR lines painted. We have to have police sitting at the VASCAR lines in order to be able to enforce that. But there is a really fundamental problem throughout this township with speeding. And it's not though, it's also, man, it all starts with the individual behind that steering wheel. Folks, if you're listening to this, I'm asking everybody, please slow down, for God's sake. The last thing you want to do is hit somebody and really cause some serious irreparable damage to a family, to a child, to anybody. So, Alan, thank you for bringing that forward. Appreciate it. I like the idea of speed bumps, brother. I have advocated for speed bumps everywhere.
everywhere.
Everywhere. I'll tell you.
Everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere.
Any other commissioners have anything for response to citizens? Moving on to the work session discussing topics. Manager Falk.
Action to ratify the approval of selling the top dresser to South Fayette Township in the amount of $15,653.10.
Is this a action motion for tonight, or is this for discussion for next week?
No, this is an action item tonight because the board did come to a consensus to sell this. When that happens, at the next public meeting, the action has to be ratified.
Okay. So we're looking for an action to ratify.
So moved. Second.
A motion by Commissioner Haggis and a second by Commissioner Gray. Any further discussion?
This money goes back into which fund?
The Capital Reserve Fund.
Capital Reserve Fund. And this 15,653.10 is one specific vehicle?
This is for the top dresser, yes.
Okay. And how many vehicles, and I know I'm getting a little off subject, my apologies a little. How many vehicles do we have that we are currently up for sale in our inventory? We've got this one. Was there another one I remember?
There are a handful, but this is
There are a
not a
handful.
vehicle. This is a piece of equipment that we purchased and was never used.
Right on. Okay. Thank you.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
All right, item number 2, you have a draft of an MOU with ASME regarding volunteers. I just want to clarify that the administration and ASME union does not, we want to work together with the volunteers. However, they're doing a lot of things on our property that can become a liability down the road. You know, we want to work hand in hand. So we did meet with the ASME union, drafted this proposed MOU to help. We want to work with the trails. They're more than welcome to propose any new trail to the township, but the township, we should have the ability to approve that new trail. Prior to that, it was my understanding that some trails were made without the township's knowledge, well, without the board or the manager's knowledge. And some other things in other parks were built without managers or board's approval, that were built by volunteers. You know, we enjoy it, but we want to work together, and we need to know when that is taking place. So this is a draft MOU for discussion. They did bring up some good points about having one supervisor, one union per 10 volunteers. That could be flexible. You know, maybe just one township supervisor or union employee per that workday. Because again, it can get pretty cumbersome, or if they have, 50, 60, 70 people out there, we're gonna have to have 5, 6, or 7 employees. But we just want to work hand in hand with them, but have something to protect the township down the road. Are there any questions about this MOU?
Will it be on the agenda to vote on without renegotiation?
That is up to the board. If you want to, we can go back to the drawing table to meet
Well-
with the trail people and the union to collaborate more, and then we can come back next month with another draft.
Yeah. Maybe we should talk a little more.
Okay. We will do that and represent a new draft next month. Item number 3 is an MOU with North Huntington Township Police Department regarding grievance number 75. This has to do with the vest purchase. This is the MOU that was drafted. Are there any questions?
Seeing none?
Moving on to item number 4, this is the MOU with Mountain Ridge Estates, where we are near completion with those swales getting repaired. I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but there's one more person that's still waiting. But again, that road has not been turned over to the township, but we had our public works guys go over the winter to go and install the proper catch basins, the proper drainage, and the proper repairs. So this is that MOU that we've been going back and forth for a couple years now. Are there any questions on this MOU?
Seeing none?
Moving on to item number 5, a nuisance ordinance regarding businesses. This was brought up by Commissioner Zona. We provided a copy of the International Building Code, Certificate of Occupancy, our business gross receipts, and a sample of a Homestead Borough ordinance with a sample of a revocation of licenses. After we review, we really don't have much teeth to go and pull an occupancy permit or a business license permit for a nuisance business. So I know Commissioner Zona wanted to be a part of this. However, he's not here tonight to make any comments. But we feel as though a copy, some of the provisions that Homestead Borough has for a revocation of a license would be applicable and give us some teeth if say, like a vape shop was in and after, the police have been down there a few times, then we can have some, if the board wants to, we can pull their business license. And then they won't be able to they won't be permitted to do business in North Huntington. I think that's what the board was looking at, somewhere along those lines. So, are there any questions or additional language, further discussion of what the board would like to see? And then maybe we can move forward and have the solicitor draft the new ordinance, and then we can discuss that ordinance and make any changes with that ordinance before it goes further for advertisement. If this is something the board's interested or has questions, now would be the time.
Anything from the board on this? I think I would like to see, go ahead, Commissioner Gray.
Go ahead.
I think I would like to see something specific to our township
Right.
before making a judgment based off of what, I believe this is Homestead, you said?
Yeah, it's a sample that they have in their ordinance that could remove the license. We don't have any of this language. If the board wants to move forward with something like this, we can draft an amended ordinance and present that to the board for further discussion to make any further changes before we move forward.
Yeah, I agree that, that we should have something specific to our township. And my question is, who's going to synthesize all that information? We take information from wherever that was from, and our ordinance and somebody else's. We get past a lot of proposals to us, but it should not be the board's job to synthesize all that to one document for us. It should be staff, administration, you, whatever, that takes all of that, joins it, and then presents a single document to us to read and maybe add to. We've had a lot of situations where we get handed pages and pages and pages of documents from other municipalities. That's not up to us to do. We should say, this is what we want. Like Commissioner Zona said, he would like to be able to pull a permit for a nuisance business, which is great. But we shouldn't have to write that. There are many of them out there, like you brought forth, but somebody on staff should take that all, combine it, and say, I think this would be good for us, and then present it to us so we don't have to read all the documents. We want to read ours.
Okay, we will work on putting a draft ordinance together and present it next month work session.
Do you have kind of direction on what
I
we
do.
want? Okay.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
sorry. Looking at the information that was provided, I think it's a good start. Perhaps we could put something together that's more meaningful to our township, and then we can kind of go from there.
I think Manager Falk, I don't want to speak for him, but he was just providing us with some examples to look at for things we might want or not want. He was just looking for some feedback from us. So I think his intent was to have the board's agreement draft a ordinance that we could look at.
Yeah, does anybody have anything in addition to what he has provided to us that he wants to take into consideration when putting something together for us next time?
I think the stuff you highlighted with the homestead, with any lawful misact and fraud, I think that's a good base to start off of.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else have anything tonight? No? Okay, go ahead.
All right, item number 5, the fire tax guidelines update.
You want me to?
Sure, I'll turn it over to Commissioner Atwood.
Okay. So this came from some discussions I've had. We all know it's fish fry season, correct? And all of our wonderful fire departments, or most of them, are selling fish. And I have been to almost every one of them. I still got 2 more, so if I haven't been to yours yet, I'll be there. But getting to talk to the firemen whenever I'm there, they brought up the importance of having the correct staff at the correct times. And one of the things that has been brought up a few times is being able to allow the money they get from the fire tax to be used toward a stipend for those individuals who are going to be manning the station during the hours. I spoke a lot with the officers at Hawntown, mainly because they're my local one, they're the closest one to my house, so I see them the most often. They said that it's normally around lunchtime hours that they're having some issues. It's not a lot of hours during the day, but they would like to, that would probably help them in order to have that staffing there for when our township needs it.
I'm sorry.
No.
Go ahead.
You can go ahead, Commissioner Gray.
I was going to say, so daylight staffing is no secret. We've talked about that before many times. So the issue before us is writing our policy, amending our policy to permit them to pay stipends in their fire department, which most of them already do out of other monies, I guess. But so that's the question. And I think it's a fairly simple question, and I'm in favor of it, so.
I'm definitely in favor of it.
Yeah, I would be in agreement that we could change the fire tax fund to allow local volunteer fire departments to use that to pay for staffing during daylight hours or any hours they see necessary.
Right.
I know Manager Falk did provide, there's some other local communities that pay staff. I don't know if we wanted to as far as put a standard on throughout the township, what staffing would be like per hour as a return to the volunteers, so everyone would be on the same page. I know other communities do that, and if we would want all the fire departments to be on the same page of what they would pay their staffing hours, we could put that in here, or we could leave it up to the fire departments as well.
Yeah, I was hoping possibly we could engage the Council of Chiefs,
Yeah.
Council of Fire Chiefs, to see if we could put something together that would work for them, that we could possibly adopt. Because I think those are the individuals who are going to know the needs the best.
I would ask the fire chiefs to come up with their agreement, present it to us.
Okay. Is that good for everybody else? Sounds good. Manager Falk, I think you could reach out to the fire chiefs and see if we can get something started.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 7, we started putting our surplus equipment on municipal bid. There's 2 bids that have been completed. 2011 Ford Escape for $6,500 and a 2014 Ford Police SUV for $9,800. So you'll have those on your approval for consideration at next week's meeting. We currently have the street sweeper, the old street sweeper. The current bid at that date was a $22,000, but it did not meet reserve. But we do have a municipality who's interested in it. So Director Helinski is working with that municipality to see if they're interested in what price. Again, if they're interested, and we feel it's a good deal, we'll present it to the board for an action item to sell it to them directly. I do not have a list currently of the surplus vehicles. We're plucking through it. I know some of the fire departments might be interested in some of these older police SUVs, but again, these SUVs, they're getting sold as is. They're beat up. They're on the road. 100,000+ miles by the time they're taken out of service. One fire department told me that we did get one year. We put money in, so much money into it that it wasn't worth it to do it again. So again, that's up to the board if they want to take interest. Some of the good vehicles. There are some that are in good condition, could be sold at or donated as is if the board wants to donate it to the fire department. But again, we're not getting top dollar for used SUVs. So
Manager Falk, is there any possibility that vehicle that you just mentioned that had 100,000 miles, that it could be maybe donated to one of the VOTEC schools? Because I have auto mechanics they'd love to have a vehicle like that too.
that is up to the board. If they put in a letter of request, I'll submit it to the board, and the board can take an action on that.
Okay.
Any other commissioners have anything for the excess equipment? Seeing none?
Moving on to item number 8, park equipment grant. We received a grant for $35,000 for 12 security cameras, 6 at Indian Lake and 6 at Oak Hollow Park. The total cost of the project is projected at $85,936, so the township's portion would be $50,936. You can always put this out to bid, but we recommend staying with a company that we know that's done the security cameras for here at the municipal buildings, kind of like one-stop shop. If one breaks down, we can have them here. These cameras will be monitored on our dispatch center 24/7 for any activity. Of course, our parks do close at dusk, and there is activity that does go on in those parking lots. And remember, a couple years ago, we had a truck in the pond up at Oak Hollow. So hopefully, these will prevent that from happening in the future. All right, item number 9, the Greenways Trails and Recreation Program grant. We're going to have a resolution in front of you next week for consideration to
I'm sorry.
Commissioner Gray.
If we could back up to the
Sure.
cameras. You said 12 cameras, but I look at the bid and there's 12 dome cameras and there's 4 PTZ zoom cameras. So there's 16 cameras, and I assume that would mean 8 at each park.
No, there's 12 cameras. The 16 quantities are the brackets. So there's 12 dome cameras.
If you look at the bottom line,
Bottom line. Oh, I see, for 34, okay. Yeah. We can always clean up this quote. So the action item would be not to exceed that amount.
which amount?
Let me go back to the thing.
I mean,
Not to exceed the cost of $85,936.
Okay. Yeah. Once again, I oppose surveillance society. Do we have a lot of damage to our parks from vandalism, or
We do have
why are we doing this?
We do have some graffiti, and the previous parks director wanted to purchase a Sharps container for the bathrooms because he was finding dirty needles. Obviously, diabetics are not, they take care of their needles, so there's, drug activity going on in our restrooms and our parking lots that we want to prevent from happening.
Okay, thank you.
All right, item number 9, the Greenways Trails and Recreation Program grant is coming up. You'll have a resolution for consideration next week. We plan on applying for up to $250,000. Again, this is towards the Indian Lake rehabilitation. So as we mentioned the last month, we're going to apply for every grant possible to help offset that cost and get it 100% grant funded. Item number 10 is the guide rail replacement bids. The bids came in at, for Frog Road, Haywood Road, Pine Hollow Road, Scotch Hill Road. Those bids came in at $57,000. We do have money available in the capital line item in the general fund, so that'll be out for your consideration in next week's meeting to award that contract. Item number 11, there are 2 vacancies on the Recreation Board. So we request the board to, at next week, for an authorization to accept letters of interest for the community members to serve in that capacity on those board vacancies. Item number 12, Civil Service Commission alternates. It was discovered that this year that the 2 alternates, those terms expired back in 2022. There is a need for this because the civil service is coming up active right now for police hiring. Did receive a letter of interest from a community member. We can discuss that further, or the current member serves on our zoning hearing board.
Yes.
So he's aware of our how we operate, basically. So are there any questions? All right, next up is the first budget revision for 2025. As I always stated, the budget is a living document. We found some additional sources of line items since we didn't fill a couple positions this year. But the biggest one is increasing the full-time telecommunications officers from 5 full-time to 6 full-times. If you recall, a couple years ago, we implemented a part-time officers to make up for that 6th full-time. Throughout those years, we've had 5 part-time employees, and only 1 has been able to be cleared from the training program due to the specialized technical skills that are performed down there, the multitasking. So we would like to go back up to 6 full-time telecommunications officers. Our overtime budget at this point in time compared to the previous years is higher for that, just simply because we cannot get people to come in and work part-time down there. We made it a goal and we tried, but did not succeed at that. So we have, a couple training officers down there that have just spent the majority of their past couple years trying to train part-time dispatchers, and it's becoming burdensome for that group. So we like to advertise next week for that, to bring that back up to 6 full-timers. I also made a note for an Assistant Director of Public Works, Director Helinski. We spoke this week, and he would like to hold off on that until he does has some further time down there. He believes that possibly down the road, an administrative assistant might be better suited. So that way they can do the work orders, take the phone calls, things like that down there. That's in lieu of an assistant director. We had a very bad winter, but our public works crews did an excellent job. And because they did such a great job, we went through a lot of salt. But we had a lot more snow this year than the previous year, so we increased our salt budget in this budget amendment because we're contractual to buy a certain amount of salt every year. And that's also in the capital reserve fund. We have a parks truck that will not pass inspection. So that's need and replace right now for those guys. There is some money in the capital reserve fund for that expenditure, $50,000 to purchase that. So there is a budget revision in the capital reserve fund. Initially, they wanted to look at buying a paver for $12,000, a used paver, but as they did more research on that paver was advertised like a late 90s model, but it was actually like a 1980s model and they don't make parts for that anymore, so they want to hold off. So they're going to request that in their budget for next year for that paver. And that's pretty much it for the budget revision. You have a resolution next week for consideration. Are there any questions?
Just, well, maybe clarification. So we're just going to go up to 6 full-time telecommunication officers and do away with the part-time, or are you still trying to plan on keeping part-time as well? Because I'm okay with getting another full-time, but I don't want to get another full-time and keep a part-time staff as well.
Yeah, we have one part-time now that is just does an amazing job. She picks up the hours. She's been off of her training for a couple years now. I think it'd be imperative to retain her because then when an overtime shift becomes available, then instead of going out for overtime, it'd be offered to the part-time first. So yeah, we would retain the one for a part-time. So we would have 6 full-timers and 1 part-time to pick up any overtime shifts that are available.
Anyone else have anything for the budget revision? None?
And that is all I have.
Thank you, Manager Falk. Moving on to planning and engineering topics, Director Andrikowicz.
A couple items tonight from the Planning Commission. First is a previously approved Site Plan 01 of 2024, the Lincoln Corner Plaza 2. This plan was previously approved in 2024. Since the approval, the applicant has made alterations to the plan and new drawings have been submitted showing the changes. An additional modification request for the setback of the retaining wall has also been added. Justin DeRazio from KU Resources has reviewed the revisions to the plan on behalf of the township. Josh Hato from Worcester has reviewed the updated traffic study. Both were in attendance at the Planning Commission meeting on April 7th, and neither expressed any major concerns with the revisions. At the meeting on April 7th, the Planning Commission voted to deny the applicant's revision by a vote of 7-0. I have slides of both the approved and the revised site plan, if anybody needs to reference them. And I believe we have a couple representatives here from Lincoln Corner to answer any questions.
Good evening. My name's Reed Safranco. I'm with Ascent Consulting and Engineering, and we're the civil consultant for the project. And again, I'm here to address the review, the proposed changes to the approved plan, known as Lincoln Corner Phase 2. I'm just going to go ahead through the changes that Josh went through. The building was revised from a 2-story building that was 14,150 square feet to a one-story building of 9,591 square feet. We reduced the parking from 60 spaces down to 45 spaces due to the lower square footage of the building. The southernmost wall along the State Road 30 right-of-way was moved slightly towards the property line to accommodate the installation of a guide rail. We have requested a modification to Section 8419B7D. It was submitted to request a distance that the face of the wall to the property line be reduced from 3 feet to 1.5 feet. And again, this property line in question is a right-of-way and not a private property adjoiner. The western portion of the site was revised to eliminate the connection drive between the Phase 1 and Phase 2 sites. The connection drive was replaced with a pedestrian sidewalk and steps. As Josh noted, that a revised traffic study was submitted, reviewed, and approved by Wooster. The dumpster was relocated to the northwest portion of the parking lot. There was large retaining walls in the northwest portion of the site to support the connection drive between the two sites. Those have been removed. A small retaining wall was added in the southwestern corner of the site in order to support the parking area in that zone. As discussed in the April 7th Planning Commission leading discussions were held regarding the revised traffic study. In conclusion, Mr. Hato agreed that the numbers presented in that study were acceptable. There were no objections to the above-mentioned modification request for the clearance of the wall, face of the wall to the property line. The dumpster location was discussed. It was ultimately determined that its location was satisfactory. And the technical staff noted that there were no outstanding technical issues and only minor outstanding non-technical items that needed to be addressed. So in summary, the revised plan provides for a less intensive development. It's a smaller scope, a smaller building. There's less excavation involved, and it has a reduced or same impact to the Summit Drive SR 30 intersection. So I don't know the format. I don't know if you ask me technical questions or if there's other parties in our group that would like to make comment.
Do any of the commissioners have anything for the gentleman? No? Okay, thank you.
Why did the planning commission vote 7-0?
So, yeah, you're probably wondering why it was a 7-0 denial.
Yeah.
So they weren't real clear at the meeting on why it was denied. So Assistant Manager Fonzie sent out an email this morning for a little more clarification, and pretty much all came back that it was, the sticking point was the connector road between the two being removed and the traffic all being funneled out onto Route 30. There were some residents in attendance there that expressed a little bit of concern about traffic coming into that plan, and a couple other minor issues like the garbage dumpster location. But other than that, it was mainly that the connector road between the two being eliminated. So.
Does any other commissioners have any questions?
I was going to ask the same question Commissioner Gray was why the Planning Commission voted to deny it. I was kind of wondering the same thing, why the developer might be eliminated the connecting road, because I thought that was valuable to have the throughway between them. But maybe was thinking the same thing the Planning Commission was of wanting it still there. But obviously the development sounds like it's going to be a little bit smaller now than what it was originally.
Yeah.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Amalouf. We met before, I guess. We would love to have the road connecting the two, Phase 1 and Phase 2. But if you look at the wall, we had to learn this. It was very difficult to build the wall without the easement from our neighbor. It's very complicated architectural structure that require a lot of work and planning, and would be very challenging, just to build that. And our neighbor does not I would say he's in litigation with the township over this. So we don't expect any help from our neighbor. And for that reason, since it's very challenging and we have other options that make more sense, we had to make that difficult decision to eliminate the road that connecting two properties. And at the same time, that I think if you look at it, it's way simpler now. It's cleaner. I think our neighbor will be happy with that. And to us, I mean, again, as I said, we would love to have the road, but we should be okay with the design like that as well. And to my knowledge, it's just to satisfy all the ordinance and regulations in the township.
Commissioners have any questions at this point? Do believe it, we had Ms. Henning. Can you please come and offer your input?
Yes, good evening. I'm going to skip onto something that's not even part of my main issue, which is they're saying everything was fine with the report. The Worcester actually issued a report, and which you should have available because it was given to me as well. And in their most recent report indicates that they also would like it to remain only in egress, not an ingress and egress, and suggested if it was not going to be, that they go back for an additional study. I'm not here about the traffic, but your own traffic report indicates that they weren't exactly happy with the ingress and egress being proposed the way that it was, and ask for more information from the developer if that was the way it was going to go. So I do have some handouts for you just so that you will be able to better understand what it is I'm referring to.
Thank you.
And again, my name is Tricia Henning. I am an attorney from the law firm that represents Mr. Dannenberg and his wife, who are the property owners of the property that is adjacent to this, just to the north, just above where the yellow box is on the site plan that you're seeing. I do see now that what you have up here for the previously approved site plan is the correct one. What was uploaded earlier today on the webpage had a one-story proposal. But the commission did approve a two-story plan last June. That's the one, that's the two-story plan. So it is now proposed as a one-story plan. The doctor indicated that it was the neighbor's fault that they couldn't get that road in there. They have never spoken with us about this project at all, despite the fact that we have been in contact with their attorney since the end of November. Whenever we contact them, we are either told no information or told that they will speak to us after this gets passed through this body. So unfortunately, we've had to harass your township with right-to-know requests to get the little bit of information that we have. So I just want to make it clear that we're not opposed to working with them. They've made no attempt to work with us at all. So the newest proposed one-story building is much longer than the original proposed two-story building that you can see in those two slides. However, this one-story building is still very close to my client's property line. That black line just above the yellow box is my client's property line. My client owns this adjacent property just behind the building, and behind that building there's a steep slope that used to be fully vegetated and contain a lot of mature trees before the developer had them all removed without my client's permission. He went out there one morning and all the trees from his property were gone. So on my property, on my client's property, there's also a large retaining wall. It's about 12 feet high. It's holding back a large portion of the hillside, on top of which sits a road and a row of 4 townhouses that he owns. He owns a number of townhouses in the development. If you go to page 6 in your packet, that will give you an idea of an aerial view of what the property looks like. You will see the townhouses, and you see the property line, the house, and the developer's property that's been removed, And then on the far left, near the townhouse that's on the far left, you'll see the retaining wall that circles around, kind of makes the circle of the road, and then is along, behind that road, right along the property line. That's 12 feet high, and it holds that hillside back. So our main concern have to do with the grading and the grading limits of disturbance associated with the construction. These are issues that we've been attempting to get answers to for months. Like I told you, we've reached out multiple times to the developer's attorney with no helpful response whatsoever. We believe that the developer needs to address some very serious concerns we have about the excavation on their properties and the effects it will have on potentially both of these properties. Page 1 of the packet shows the proposed building, and along with the excavation lines, the red lines, the ones I'm going to point you to are on the left-hand side of that yellow box. You'll see down at the bottom corner, it has an excavation marker in that corner that says 115536. And then you do see up at the top, that doesn't have an exact measurement for the elevation at the top corner, but you can see it's probably at least 1163, since the one below it says 1162. So doing the math on that, you can see that that back wall of the property, they're gonna have to excavate into the hillside, and the back wall of that property, just based on the height difference, is probably gonna be underground by about 7 feet. So it'll be 7 feet below grade in order to make the building level. So on page 2 of the packet, you can see on the top left corner of the property, there is a marker that shows 2 arrows, and it says 5.43 feet. That's how much space there's going to be between the corner of the property and my client's property. So there's only going to be 5.34 feet between the building and the property line. You can see also on this how close the corner of that building is going to be to my client's retaining wall. Based on this, you can tell that it's very likely going to be, if you can see there's 5.43 feet between the building and the property line, between the building and the retaining wall, it's likely less than 10 feet. Pages 4 and 5 show the wall, some photographs of the wall. Actually, no. Page 4 and 5 show photographs of the wall and the survey stakes that have the orange flag. This shows how close the property line actually is to the wall. So we had our engineer look at the plans. They applied UCC and OSHA excavation guidelines to the site. Our engineer, I had him write a report. It's actually attached in the packet on pages 9 and 10. According to the excavation guidelines, the temporary slope that would need to be laid back 1.5 feet for every 1 foot of vertical digging, which on this project, since they're going to have to dig so far down into the slope, the excavation setback would need to be 10 feet of horizontal distance in order to get down as far as they need to dig to build the building. So if you see on page 3, there's a red area. The engineer colored in that red area. That is how much area, according to the excavation guidelines, is going to be necessary in order to excavate this and build this according to OSHA guidelines when it comes to actually having to dig down into property. So you can clearly see that the excavation alone is going to not only infringe upon my client's property and go over their property line, but it gets very close to the wall. And this is just the minimums. This is just the minimal guidelines. How it will happen when you actually get out there is a whole nother thing, but to follow the guidelines, these are the minimums that you would need in order to properly excavate this. So this brings up some very serious issues for us. The first one is that it encroaches on our property, across the property line, which it might not be a big deal if there was any conversation, but again, they will not have conversation with us. And second, and more seriously, is the effect that this excavation is likely going to have on the stability of that retaining wall that's there. As far as we know, the developer has done no studies to determine the depth of the base of the retaining wall that's there, nor what it's bearing on. He has not asked us for permission to go onto the property to get that information, which would be necessary, and obviously it's something that we would be fine with in order to find out whether their excavation is going to have any effect on the property, but they won't have a conversation with us about that. So If this wall is impacted by the excavation, this could have some serious detrimental consequences for my client's property. The driveway that you can see on that other page is held up by the wall, as well as the homes that are supported by this land. Additionally, we need to take into consideration the safety of the people living in the townhouses, as well as the people that would be working on this site and potentially after the site is complete. If the retaining wall is going to go, it won't necessarily go when they're there excavating. It could go at any time. So we're potentially putting a lot of people in danger if we don't know the specifics of what this excavation this close to the wall is going to do to the retaining wall. So we have been asking again and again for this information so that we're assured that our property will not be affected by this. So what we're asking the township for is some assurance that the developer will take into consideration the stability of our property, and we would like the township to address this with the developer before you consider the plan for approval. And this is a great concern for us because of the fact that the developer's past actions haven't given us a lot of confidence. When you look at page 6 and 7, you can see the wooded area that's between the townhomes and the Lincoln Corner property. Without my client's permission, the developer went onto the property and removed all of the mature trees, all of the vegetation from the hillside. Page 8 shows what it looks like now. It is completely bare. There were close to 20 trees on that hillside, as small as 6 inches in diameter, upwards as 24 inches of diameter. They were all removed. So the residents that are in that townhouse did have a buffer from Route 30, not only visually, but also sound-wise. That was taken from them. So they're upset about that, but more importantly is what has now happened in terms of erosion. That has not been addressed. And interestingly, in their initial proposal, when they were asked by the township how they were going to comply with the buffer requirement, there's arguments about whether that does or doesn't apply in this situation, but they included a picture. They actually included the same picture that we included on page 7. It's a street view shot from Google saying we don't need to have a green buffer. There already is one there. There's mature trees on the property line that's abutting it. They then went and took those out. So that no longer exists. Also, in a report that KU Engineering did last spring, they asked them to, as part of your ordinance 505B, they stated that the developer needed to notify the township engineer or the Westmoreland County Conservation District 48 hours in advance of any site preparation, including stripping of vegetation. We obviously didn't get any information on that. I'm wondering if the developer even contacted the township engineer to tell them they were planning on stripping the trees and what plan they gave, because all the trees were removed without permission. So there's 2 final items I have. First is that according to all the documents, the project requires an NPDES permit issued by the Westmoreland County Conservation District. Westmoreland County Conservation District did send the developer a letter on February 27th, 2025, informing them that their permit for the property expired in December of 24, and the letter informed them that they had until March 14th of this year to submit a new application for the permit. I've been in contact through the Right to Know officer with the Westmoreland County Conservation District, and as of last Friday, April 4th, they had not even applied to receive a new application for that. So, and also when the Planning Commission originally considered this plan, they had long discussions about the traffic patterns. Included in those discussions back when it was originally had was a letter from the township to the township from Lieutenant McCurdy of the North Huntington Township Police Department, who addressed increased traffic concerns on this road, and he actually suggested making the entrance only an egress. The Planning Commission also believed that was best and had long conversations about it just this week. The new plan is not designed this way. As I stated before, even in your own traffic engineer's report, they suggest that it only be an egress, and that is not how it is at this point. So we're asking the township to look closely at this plan and require the developer just to do some more tests and give some more reports so that we know what their excavation is going to what impact their excavation is gonna have on the stability of not only the slope itself, the retaining wall, and how they're gonna address these things. I just asked you to take a close look at the overall erosion of the site, and just keeping with the fact that we hadn't been told, we're not been given any information going up to this. All of our trees have been removed without permission, and they have not been responsive to any of our requests to talk. I'm here asking you to take a close look at this, because this is potentially a very serious safety issue, not only for the residents that live in the property above it, but the workers and the people that will be using this site if something happens and this retaining wall is not stable. Thank you. Did you have any questions for me?
I had just one question
Sure.
for you, but I think you might have answered it at the end. So the trees that were in question between the two properties were actually on your client's property?
Yeah, so if you want to look.
Towards the top of the property line there?
Yeah, I think it's easiest. So the ones that are included that you show the pins in the wall, that's
Yeah.
actually after the trees were removed. So on number 5, you can see, number 5 in the packet, you can see there are no more trees.
Yeah.
On number 6, you can see it's winter time in this aerial shot, but you can see that the trees exist on that triangle. In 7, you can see that the trees are probably, a good 5 stories high, in that picture. And then in 8, you can see that there's not a green thing left on them.
Yeah, I think I understood you correctly there at the end, but I
Yeah.
appreciate that clarification. Like you said, they went on your client's property without permission and cut down the trees.
Yes, all of them.
Thank you.
Does any other commissioners have anything for Ms. Henning? Nope. Any other commissioners have anything regarding this matter?
Where do we
No.
stand?
I still have a few questions of, I guess, maybe more so to the developer of, why the plan was originally changed. I mean, they had a approval, conditional approval, if I'm not mistaken, and, we're getting a, application to, change the plan, which that's understandable and happens. But, I'm a little concerned probably with what the planning commission had about, losing the access road between the two parcels that are common use for office, medical service buildings.
If I can say something. Obviously, the attorney for my neighbor, a little bit behind, they had no idea about change of the plan. All what she said has something to do with having the wall over there. And most of those concerns are legitimate. But removing the wall will address all the problems that she talked about. We are not any close to a retaining wall. That area, the whole area would not be disturbed. And I think this is one of the reasons that we took that decision. As far as the OSHA and the grading, when we put the building, we had our contractor go in there, and he assured us, and we have a letter from him, that we could build the back wall of the building through vertical cut. We don't have to go into neighbor property line. As far as the trees, of course, we apologize, but we hire a professional, insured, a tree guy who, he just messed up things. We have nothing to do with it. And I think probably there's some litigation between my neighbor and him, but this is not us. We have nothing to do. We did not told him to do that. We were surprised that he did that. I personally apologize for that, but this is out of my hand. We came in the morning, and what we saw, my neighbor saw, and this the story with that. As far as the traffic, I have the traffic engineer here. Maybe he can just give you input.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Zach Staley, staff engineer at Trans Associates. We have all met before. I just wanted to make a few clarifying points regarding the traffic study. David E. Worcester and Associates did submit a comment letter, which we did reply to. I need to remind Commissioners that the approved study did consider full access on Summit Drive, from Summit Drive, and that was clearly demonstrated in the study that there would be no issues with access, full access to Summit Drive, and that was the preferred option. And regards to the actual study, I believe on Tuesday, April 7th, or earlier this week, I presented the findings of the traffic study, and Mr. Hato from David E. Worcester and Associates did concur with the study's findings. And despite the reduction in site access from 2 driveways to 1, The decrease in square footage has resulted in lower trip generation of the site. So the net difference in peak hour development trips entering and exiting Summit Drive is negligible. It's only a couple trips when compared to the approved study that was dated June 2024 last year. Worcester even concurred in their own comment layer that capacity and queuing at the intersection of Summit Drive and Route 30 remained favorable, and that there were no issues. There are no site distance constraints. It was the crash data evaluation concurred that there was no safety issues at Summit Drive and Route 30, just based on the data itself. Given these findings, we maintain that their comment in requesting a gap study was unnecessary, and that it would not change the findings, summary, or conclusions of the study itself. Do you have any questions for me which I could clarify?
Commissioner, I guess I don't think that addressed your question.
No, my questions were asked. I had no questions on the traffic. I did maybe have a question for Director Andrikhovich. Other than one modification for the setback for the retaining wall, is it anything else in this plan that wouldn't meet our zoning or commercial development of this property?
No, that was it.
Okay.
A couple minor things. But
So they're just
there was
asking
nothing
for a setback for that retaining wall?
for the retaining wall, yeah.
And is that the retaining wall in the front of the property or towards the rear of the property?
That's in the front there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're just asking to be a little bit closer to Route 30?
Yeah, I
Yep.
believe it's going to be 1.5 feet, and our requirement is 3 feet.
Okay.
Do any other commissioners have anything on this matter?
Well, are we still,
If
we
I
still
may-
involved?
If I may just make one comment. My name is Amber Leachock, and I'm an attorney. I'm representing the developer. However, when Ms. Hemming talks about that she's reached out to the attorney for the developer many times and he did not respond, that is not me. Gary Falatovich is representing the developer. He could not be here tonight, and he asked me to come and address any questions that the commissioners may have. One of the things regarding the wall, I would just like to address what Ms. Hemming was talking about, the retaining wall, how that Mr. Falatovich didn't want to share any plans. I'm actually looking at an email here from December that Mr. Falatovich sent to Ms. Hemming that discussed that he would be more than happy to share any plans with Ms. Hemming but he wanted to wait until the township approved an actual plan, because he understands that if any appeal would be taken, it would have to be based on something that was actually approved. Most of Ms. Hemming's arguments are sort of out there in the ether. They're very premature because nothing has occurred yet. So it's my understanding, and I believe Mr. Andrikhovich just answered the question, that the plan complies with all of North Huntington's requirements, and there's really no reason to not approve it.
Can
Thank
you. That is true, that there is no, it complies with everything?
Other than the one modification for the retaining wall that he already
Yeah.
stated for the front of the property.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. We'll double check. Anybody
of
else
those
have
things-
anything tonight? Seeing none?
Yeah, I do.
Go ahead, sir.
Doctor, I have to admit, you do have liability. There is a disconnect clearly with your organization and the contractor that cut those trees. You do have oversight. You cannot stand there and tell me you don't have any responsibility to it when you do. I don't care. You had, allow me, you had oversight. You were the owner. It was your responsibility to be there, perhaps, or make very sure that the individual that came in to cut those trees knew exactly where the line was drawn. And to stand there and say that you're not responsible, I completely and utterly disagree with you, sir.
Eric, I definitely understand that. I apologize. I gave the guy the site plan, went over the job, he made a mistake. If you want me to take responsibility for that,
You have to.
I have no problem with that. Whatever I need to do to make this right, I am open and available for that. But it was there 6 a.m. and so this is what happened. At the same time, this last comment, I built phase one, and I built the first and the second building, and behind those buildings, if you notice, there's massive walls, retaining wall, 30 feet up with ready rock and stuff like that. From my humble experience in constructions, if you look at the drawing, eliminating the wall would solve all my neighbor problems. If you look at it, we know that area in front of his retainer wall is not disturbed at all. So, and that was one, as I said, the reason that we eliminate that wall. So I want to reassure my neighbor that we're not going to go through his property line. We studied that very well. We're not going to disturb that area in front of his retainer wall, and he should rest assured that nothing going to happen there. The second thing is also the traffic studies. As you know, the public concerns, I am concerned too. I'm not going to put a building with a business there when there is my patients or my employee have a traffic issues or have. So for that reason, I park there and I observe that area, and I have scientific study done by third party, reputable party. I don't know what else I could do to reassure you guys, just to and give the public the peace of mind that this is something, it will work. So we are excited for this project. I'm excited to add something valuable to the township as well. I mean, you've seen this is predictable. You just look at the other buildings. It's going to look exactly the same. There's going to be some subspecialty providing service to the township in the area. It's going to look beautiful. It's going to look nice. What I get is compliment from what I did in phase one, if you see that. So I hope you guys, you see that we're ready to break ground. We just need your approval and your support. Thank you for your time.
Commissioners have anything else regarding this matter? Who are you?
I'm the neighbor.
You're the neighbor. Come state your name and address for the record, please.
Robert Dannenberg. My home address you need, 2754 Beechwood Boulevard, Pittsburgh, 15217. So my wife and I are the owners of the adjacent property north of Dr. Amelof's. And first of all, let's back up for a minute. We were never given any notice, knock on the door, or even a call to our management company to say, hey, we're going to be going onto the property below you. We're going to take the trees down. We're going to build this beautiful medical facility, and I hope you're in partnership with us. That would have been the right thing to do. Unfortunately, contrary to the doctor's statement, he's never apologized to me or us for any of these matters, to my knowledge. And the first time it came to our attention was when I drove up to the property to see what's happening, and all of a sudden the trees are gone. So that, of course, created a huge snowball. I was, forced to retain counsel. This was not in my master plan. This is our retirement property, not something that we want to be fighting over. But we have an obligation to support that alleyway in the back, the townhouses themselves, keep the residents happy, which we've done for almost 20 years. And one of our large concerns is the retaining wall itself. It was an exceptionally expensive project to begin with when we put that up. I don't know if you have any recollection of what used to be there when we bought the property, but it was a mess of rotting timbers and stone. And through the township process that we properly permitted, we got a retaining wall that's 12 feet high and about 100+ feet long, and it wraps all the way around the property. It supports the alleyway, it supports the townhouses, it supports the people that live there, and it supports the community. So, it's all good and well to say our retaining wall won't be disturbed by the excavation and the vertical cut and all these things that the doctor's talking about. I'm not an engineer. I don't even play one on TV. But that's why I hired an engineer, and that's why I hired an attorney, so that we have somebody looking at this closely and carefully. Now, I don't know you folks, and I'm saying this respectfully. If you're not an engineer, we need to have engineers looking at these things. There's a reason why the Planning Commission turned it down. The gentleman behind me in the black shirt that says trans, he mentioned, just a couple of cars more. Well, I read that study. It says 304 entries and exits more on this little township road called Summit Drive. That's a lot of activity to me. I may be wrong, but that seems like an awful lot of activity to me. I don't know if an intersection traffic light is appropriate, but if not, then the only obvious thing is a roadway so that people can exit comfortably and safely on Thompson Lane. It just doesn't make sense for me. Plus, that Summit Drive neighborhood, that's the only ingress and egress to the entire neighborhood. It's a beautiful neighborhood up there, and I think it's going to be severely impacted by the excess traffic that's going to occur as a result of this development. I'm not objectionable to the doctor creating this medical building, good for him and good for the community, but it has to be done in partnership with us, and it hasn't been to date. I haven't heard a single word from him, and that comment about, oh, it's not my fault, it's the tree guy's fault. Well, there's something in the law called agency, and he bears that responsibility 100%, obviously. I don't know if he's aware of that. So the other thing we're concerned about is light pollution with respect to the development shining back up onto the townhouses. I don't know if that's been addressed or if that's an issue, if there's a light pollution ordinance in North Huntington Township. I have no idea, but I don't even know if that's been addressed here at this plan. So there's lots of issues. I see that final approval of that plan is premature, and I would suggest that the plan approval be tabled, and in concert with the Planning Commission, I think we need to get together to decide how this should move forward appropriately so that all parties are accommodated. And the safety and welfare of the neighborhood is accounted for as well. Just like that dog kennel issue earlier this evening. I mean, everybody's up in arms about it. I'm only two people, my wife and I. And, we've paid our taxes on time for 20 years. We've never had a single problem or incident there, and we want to keep it that way until this whole thing came up a few months ago in October, when I just randomly drove up there to see what's going on like I do most of the time, and all of a sudden there's no trees on Route 30, on the area between, the buffer between my property and theirs. So there needs to be some accountability, and there needs to be some oversight, and to me, it's an engineering and legal function right now to make sure that our retaining wall stays intact, even with their excavation and additional retaining wall activity. So I'm not sure if there's anything more. Tricia, is there anything you need to bring forward? Okay. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
One more thing I'd like to add to the board. We mentioned that there is one additional waiver modification that's with the revised plan that's in front of you. The prior application included 5 waiver approvals, modification approvals, and I believe those would still apply. They were on some minor site items like curb radii less than 5 feet and parking that's closer to 10 feet, but those were already granted. So those will be part of any approving resolution that you would see next week.
Any other commissioner have anything on this matter? All right. Moving on.
Okay. Item number 2, subdivision 8 of 2025, JP Land Holdings, Route 993 subdivision. This is the proposed subdivision located off of State Route 993. JP Land Holdings LLC is the owner of the vacant 15.722 acre parcel. They would like to subdivide off 1.525 acres, lot number 3, highlighted in yellow, leaving the remaining lot 1R with 14.194 acres. That'd be shaded in blue. Both lots would meet the minimal dimension requirements in an industrial zoning district. In the April 7th meeting, the Planning Commission recommended this plan for approval with no conditions by a vote of 6-0 and with one abstention. Any questions?
Just so, this is the area where the fill's being brought in?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I was on the same property area.
Yeah, it's
My grandmother lives up on the hill there, I see it, so.
between
I drive
Barner
past it
Hill
all
and
the time.
Lager Road, correct.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Anything regarding this one? No? Seeing none? All right, and then I think our third item has been removed from the agenda tonight to be discussed next month.
Okay.
Anything else for
That's
us
all-
tonight, Director?
Yeah, that's all I
Anderkovic?
have tonight.
Thank you. Old business. I did have something for old business I wanted to bring up. We had talked previously about the designation of Indian Lake Park and the possibility of dividing that property and having the actual lake area having the designation with the national parks, state parks,
For open space, yep.
open spaces, federal. And then having the other,
I believe it is 2 tax parcels, so I don't think we need to do that. It's just when we apply for that open space zoning, we just need to make sure we only apply for the parcel that surrounds the lake and the actual park itself that we're talking about. The upper portion, we won't include that.
did we want to adjust any lines?
I think they're still pretty close. I mean,
they?
It's pretty
Yeah.
tight,
I'm not
like they're
100% sure what
divided
it looks
pretty
like.
pretty accurately, like behind the pavilions,
yeah,
off the
if you
trail.
go up to the upper trails, up like in the wooded area,
Yeah.
that's like, soon as you get up into the woods
Yeah.
is all the other
Okay.
section of property.
Yeah, it's 17 acres up there. It's pretty much all vegetated.
Yeah.
So
It's pretty close.
Good, I couldn't remember if we had something definite on that last time we spoke. I wanted to bring it up. Anybody else have anything for old business? Seeing none, any further board comments?
Motion adjourned.
Second.
The motion by Commissioner Haggis to adjourn, a second by Commissioner Gray. All those in favor by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0, meeting adjourned at 8:42.
Executive session?
We will be having executive session following this meeting to discuss legal matters.